I'm Terry Hudson, and I'm here in the Rbtztv TV studios. And our subject today is going to be the power of live performance. And in the studio with me today, I have the indie band Blankstate. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Let's go around and if you will, introduce yourself. Just tell me what you do in the band.
Yeah. So my name's Jacob. I'm the guitarist, vocalist, songwriter, I guess. Oh, okay. My name's Sam. I play bass, synth, and then I do all the recording and mixing and mastering for the band.
So you're the tech guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My name's Seth. I play drums, and I do the majority of our booking and our contact and all that.
So basically the contact person for the band.
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet and when did you form?
So we met pretty young. They've known each other a lot longer than I've met either of them. I met them both in like middle school. And we just all happened to like the same music and all play instruments at the time. I played like some guitar, like I had just started learning. Sam played piano, Seth played the drums already. And at some point I was like, you guys want to play some like 21 Pilots songs with me? And we would start out just like hanging out and playing some cover songs for fun. And then we officially formed Blankstate probably 2018.
So how long after you started practicing, after you rehearsed, did you do your first live gig?
Depends on what you call a gig. So we used to play a lot at this homeschool school called Full Circle, which is no longer a thing. But they used to have these jam nights where they'd have all the kids from the school get together and play covers, play originals, whatever you had. And that's where we started playing together. And before we even decided to be a band, really, we were getting up there and like in between, like learning these songs and learning these covers to go play there. And I think that the first couple things that we played after that were like talent shows. As Blankstate, the first show we played was, it was in the building that was formerly a school, but they had shut down, and they were like, we have the building for like one more week. And we were like, we'll just set up in there. And we brought a bunch of our friends, and we were like, this is our first Blankstate show. And we played like Green Day, we played like Weezer, like we didn't have any music yet, so we played
with the covers.
Yeah.
And I've seen people that try to get the recording out first. They rush things and they have no audience for the recording at all. They don't have live chops down, so they don't have the proper endings to their songs, or they don't have in mind their live show before they go and record. Where what you did it right. You said you brought your friends there, but how'd you get your friends there?
We had a lot of friends who liked music as is. People were kind of like, they knew that we could do that. And we had this promise of like, if you have seen us do that, this is going to be better. Cause we played for like 3 hours straight that night. Wow. We played for a long time.
A brand new band playing in their first real venue.
Yeah.
And you're playing 3 hours.
Yeah. It probably wasn't a good decision in hindsight. I'm sure the people there, I think there was probably like 30 or 40 people. I think it was 40 people, yeah. And they probably were like, man, this is a lot of music, because we played like 20 or 30 songs. Like it was a lot.
It was a lot.
We play nowhere close to that long now. Usually we're doing 30 to hour long sets, but we did 3 hours the first one for some reason.
Yeah, and when you're first starting, see what people they don't know, the average fan doesn't know when they go to a major concert. If they see it at a big amphitheater or a big arena, is those people have been through stage performance coaching. But when you're in front of people a lot like that and you're looking at their face, you can engage and tell what's working.
It really just, since we were playing a lot of covers, it came down to deciding, like we almost got in like a mindset of like what people liked, like what type of covers is like people will know it and they'll go, oh yeah, I know that song. Or you'll hear it and they go like, oh, I haven't, like, I forgot about this song. Like I'm excited to hear it. And it was a lot of, in our early shows, doing that sort of like trial run. Like you play a show, like, oh, let's add a new song, see if people like it. If they do, we'll keep playing it. If not, we won't. And it's been interesting now that we have our own music to see that reaction as well to our songs, because you get like the totally like separate thing from like, if you have a song that does really well on streaming, you might think, oh, let's play that like all of our shows. But you start playing it and like the crowd is just not super into it. So you have to kind of adapt between what works
for a studio setting versus what works for a live show.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something I want to talk to you about. Listening to your songs, your lyrics are, they're pretty, not only just mature, but they have great insight and they're just different than the way other people write.
So I have done most of the songwriting. I did on the first EP that we put out, we did a kind of a mix. So like I did a lot of it. Sam did the song Say It Back. And then we kind of all tag teamed for, I think, Pale Blue and Goodnight. By the time we were working on the album, I was in college and I was like doing a lot of like poetry writing. Right. And I kind of came into like this like mindset of like, oh, I really like doing this. Like I like writing and I like the depth that you can convey with words and how you use them. And I think some of my lyrics in like our earlier stuff were kind of hit or miss. And sometimes I just got really lucky. But I think by now I've got a much better sense of like poetically how to craft my thoughts into things.
And you'll continue to grow in that. I mean, everybody does. Like the longer you're together and can put up with each other, which, you guys have great personalities, so that shouldn't be too hard, even being on the road a lot.
Right.
But you grow in your knowledge of poetry and the world outside and the things that can, influence you. Tell me about the song, I believe it's Jasper Never Cries.
Right.
How did you come up with that? And, give me your take on that song. It was just very interesting video and very interesting lyrics.
Yeah. So that song is actually a super interesting, and I want to make sure everyone's talking over here.
Yeah.
That song, like lyrically, I have always approached from a perspective of when I was writing it, I was kind of coming into this realization of like, you don't have to write a song that every single person's going to hear and go, oh yeah, I know exactly. I remember like that time that I did something similar to that or something like that happened to me. I realized like I can write just about what is happening to me personally in my head. And if people get it, they'll get it. And I think it was that song particularly was an exercise in writing for myself and writing something that felt genuine to me. And I think a lot of people connected with it more because it felt more real. But I have always maintained that like thematically, like for my own sake, I don't like to tell people what that song's about. So I am the only one who knows what that song is about lyrically.
I love that answer.
That includes Seth
they
and
don't,
I.
They don't know what that song is about. Yeah.
Like at the beginning, we were. I feel like especially I didn't exactly understand where he was coming from with not telling us. So I was like, oh, I want to know. So I'd like ask him every once in a while, and then I kind of noticed I was like, oh, I feel like one of the points of the song is to have it be a personal thing. And so after like a while, I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to ask him. And then at one practice, I think we were finishing the song up or finishing the album up or something like that. And I was like, Jacob, can you tell us what it means if it hits 1 million streams? And he said, yeah.
That's our deal.
So no one will know, including us until then. But I think that just the idea of, I think that when you don't tell people what a song is about, everyone can kind of make their own assumptions or make their own like story of like, here's what I think the song is about. And then the idea that Jacob or us can't confirm or deny it, we're just like, maybe. And it just means different things to different people, I think, because I think that everyone will have their own interpretation of it.
Right. And I've heard similar answers, and I like that from the artist. What I've not heard before is the person writing it not telling the other band members.
Yeah.
It was like one of the greatest answers.
That's
that
when
you can get to that question.
When you asked the question, we all kind of looked at each other and laughed because we were like, oh man, I don't even know.
The guy still hasn't told us. That should be the motivation. You should tell that story in every concert until you get to those 1 million streams. Use that as the pull in.
Yeah.
So, bands write in different ways.
I feel like it's a lot of different ways. It depends on the song because there are certain songs that we have the idea first. I'd say specifically because I had the most say in the song "Say It Back" on our first EP. That instrumental had probably been written and recorded in a demo version for like almost 2 years. Before it came out. And we never really knew what to do with it. And then like when it came time to write this EP and it was the first time we were writing music, it was one of the earlier or like middle songs that we wrote on that one. And I was like, I have something that I kind of want to write about. Can I just like take this song and write to it? Because Jacob was saying he didn't really know what would fit to it, and especially if you've been hearing the same demo of the same recording, like we pretty much all knew exactly what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And the studio version is like shockingly similar.
It is so much the same song. I think the only thing that changed was the drums. We completely switched them out.
Drums were changed
because I did the drums the first time, and I just can't play drums really.
And so that one kind of came together like that. But there's times when we write full instrumentals with no words yet and then add them later. There's sometimes where we have ideas for words, or sometimes like Jacob will write lyrics in like poem form and then put them into a song later and add a melody, add like a rhythm and stuff. And so I feel like every song is a little bit different. Some of those decisions actually come after the song is technically recorded in its final form. We sometimes just come back to it and just say, well, I don't really like this. And if we have time to fix it, then we just go ahead and
that's going to work very well for you in the live thing too, because the more you're playing concerts, there are things that you have to do when you end up with having so many radio hits, and your stuff is pretty commercial. So as you grow, I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of success. So that's the thing that's normally hard for a band. That'll be a lot easier to you because you're already thinking that way. And you played some pretty amazing places. Just in the, I guess, last little bit, you've sold out a couple of great places. Tell us about those.
Yeah, I do a lot of our live show stuff, so I guess there's me. Recently, so early on we played a lot of just like bars and like playing at people's houses and stuff. So last July we were like, what if we just start going at the music venues, like the actual music venues? So our first place that we played that was like a designated Charlotte venue was the Milestone, and we were opening for a great band called Good Sleepy. And we were like, all right, I love those guys. We love Good Sleepy. Yeah, they're from Massachusetts. But we were like, let's roll with this. Let's look where else there is. So one place that we kind of set our sights on was the Evening Muse. We really love the Evening Muse. It's around the same size as the Milestone, but it's set a vibe of being like really clean. Like they have like a lot of touring acts that come through there. So it's like it has a different kind of prestige. And so we emailed them kind of early on, and we were like, hey, can we play here? Like we sent them all of our stats, and they were like, you guys aren't quite there yet. Like maybe get on support for some show. And we were like, okay. So we'd email them every so often and be like, hey, can we be on support for this show? They were like, you're not the right vibe. We were like, how about this show? And so eventually, after we released the song Jasper Never Cries as a single, we got that song placed on like some playlists, like Release Radar. So if people listen to like a similar kind of music, that show or that song popped up in their playlists. So we got a huge hit of streams, and that's when we started like leveling up our social media stuff too. And that was when we were booking our first tour. So I emailed the Evening Muse. I sent them this long email. I was like, we've gone up by this much percent like streams, this much percent followers, like can we play here? And they were like, sure. So we got a headlining gig there and we sold it out, which was
that's
crazy.
Pretty incredible.
Oh yeah, I just want to say our local fans have been so loyal to
it's wild, yeah.
Like these are some people that are our friends, some people that we met through playing places, but we consistently have like a giant group of just really like nice people, and like
because you're nice people.
Yeah, we try to be. We try to leave any like ego out of our music stuff. It feels cool to be like partially responsible for these people like coming together and people making like actual friendships, and people like people like socialize with a bunch of different people. It's really cool.
We were we played a show at a venue in Charlotte called Rbtztv Video, and we got a message afterwards that was like, hey, just so you know, I had at your show last night, I had my first kiss during Jasper Never Cries.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's like, no matter what we do as a band, we could break up today. That person will think back for their entire life and know their first kiss happened at our show
during our song.
And and they'll know the song, they'll know the
They'll know like what line was being said. Yeah.
Like at the very moment it happened and almost what time of day it was. Because music is a soundtrack of life. And so you do remember those things.
Yeah, and that's super funny. We think it's funny, but obviously the person probably is very fond of that moment. But to us, it's like that's so funny that happened.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe that it's you.
Yeah.
You know, because you're the artist, that this happened because of us.
Yeah.
But that's what you're doing. And, you know, keeping your egos in check, like we were talking about, keeps you together. You know, what the band is, the power they have with people, that audience that you're playing in front of, the things that you're doing for them, that you were the soundtrack of, you know, moments in their lives. And you guys you have a good handle on that. Your writing definitely is geared to that. Your social media concept videos are very funny or very interesting with the type of energy you have in your performance, and being three of you and the type of songs you're playing, you can set up anywhere and make it interesting. Right. When you're playing now, what did you say your average set is time-wise again?
Okay, so it depends on if we're opening or if we're headlining. Headlining, we usually have a couple other bands on with us, so we'll play like an hour to an hour 15. Opening, we usually play about 30 minutes.
Okay, and how do you determine your songs for each one of those?
We have it down pretty well, what songs we play, since we only have our 2 projects out right now. And
one's an EP, right? And one's a
one's
full-length
an EP.
project.
So in total, we have 17 songs, 5 on the EP, 12 on the album.
And you have, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. You have those on all the platforms, right?
Yep, that's on all of our platforms. And then currently we have one song that a new song that we haven't recorded yet, that's going on to our next project to play live as well. But yeah, so we have a generally kind of limited amount of songs. And then the way that we think about it is, for a 30-minute set, you don't really have any room to have like a lower energy songs. So any of our like slow songs, we usually won't play in a 30-minute set, especially when we're trying to attract attention of people when we're opening or playing in cities we don't normally play. In our 30-minute sets, we usually pick what songs we think are going to translate best to the crowd. It also depends on the bands. If we're playing with heavier bands, we try to pick some heavier songs to play. If we're playing with quieter bands, we might actually throw in a slower song. And then for our hour sets, we think, okay, if they're going to be there for an hour, they're probably going to want some time in the middle to slow down a little bit. So we'll have a little bit of a slower section. And then a lot of times we have our song called Autumn Song, which starts very acoustic, but then ends really loud. So it's a perfect song to like transition out of our slow section into our next section, which normally we'll play a pretty loud song after that.
And like during that song, it's like maybe like a 3-minute song or something like that. And for the first like 2.5 minutes or something, it's just me and just vocals, guitar, nothing else. And I'm just sitting there by myself playing. And we have this like, every time we play that song, I'm just in my own world and I never know what's happening. And I always hear afterwards, they're like, oh yeah, the two of them were like,
playing rock, paper, scissors.
Playing rock, paper, scissors behind you the whole time or something.
They can kind of like listen to Jacob, or they could watch us do whatever we're doing on the stage.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting for the audience.
Yeah.
I was watching your YouTube videos, and out of everything I've seen on the indie scene, they were extremely interesting. They're they're different visually. The writing is really good on them, and the way you guys, integrate the music into the story. Do you write those yourself?
So there's not even that much of a writing process behind it usually. Like as far as like in our music videos for like our first one we did was Goodnight. We really wanted to, that was the first thing we had ever put out. Like we had only been doing covers up to that point. That was the first single we were ever putting out. We wanted all of our like friends and stuff who knew us from our local shows and stuff to see that and go, okay, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a different, like, different experience. And I remember I had this idea. I was like, I just want something in like constant motion. Like the song feels very much like it's like pushing you forward. I want something that's just like rolling like the whole time. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, maybe a bike or something like that. And then we were like, what if it was a shopping cart? And we were sitting together. We were at practice one day and we were like, what if it was a shopping cart? And then I don't remember whose idea it was.
The weird thing about that is that was our very first and only idea when we were trying to think of a music video, and it was completely crafted within, I'd say,
Like-
less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, like 10 minutes. We came up with the whole idea. But we were like, one of us should be like in the shopping cart. And then that just led to like one idea led to another. And you ended up tying up our drummer, Seth, sticking him in the shopping cart and wheeling him through the woods.
Yeah, it's like an independent film. I mean, the way you guys filmed it and wrote it, was very interesting.
When we did our music video for our song Jasper Never Cries, we had already done our Lovely One music video, which that one was probably the most professional music video thing we've done, because we knew a guy that we had done, like he had worked on some like theater stuff that we had been in, and because we were all theater kids.
You know what?
Yeah.
Hey, that's great for live performance.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
And he had offered to help us out with a video, and he had like all the gear, all like the setup, and we were like, okay, we got to be a little bit more like serious with this one.
We decided that in the room that we'd be playing at the party, that pretty much there's going to be like one or two like stragglers in there,
and
they're
gonna
gonna
be on their phones.
One-
And
one's
they're by
gonna be-
yourself, and it's just like they walk in.
They're like on their phone, they're asleep, because we're like the band at the party that people don't really care about. Because we were like, if we make it look like everyone's having fun watching us, it's like people are gonna think like, oh, they're trying to like look cool in this shot.
Yeah.
We're like, we don't ever want to like look cool.
Well, you are cool. I mean, you are. Well, I understand what you're saying there, but you are
Yeah.
cool.
And then after that, we were like, that was fun, but it was a lot of a process. We were like, let's just go back and do something weird again. And we were on a road trip to Raleigh. We were driving to Raleigh to play a show. And we were like, let's just talk about a music video idea until we have one. And then whatever we land on, we have to shoot it when we get back. And so we just kept talking. And I was like, I had this little drawing that I wanted to do of like a t-shirt or something for the song that was just this little character that I was like, that's Jasper, that's who the song's about. And I was like, what if I just dress up like that little character, and then I just walk through the city. And that was where the idea started. And then somehow through just sitting in the car and being bored, we were like, well, how are Seth and Sam in it? Oh, they're building something, and then I want to smash it. And like that was it. Like that was the thought process. So then we just filmed it in like a
there's
day.
no boredom with you guys sitting in a car.
Yeah. Anytime it starts to get a little bit too normal, I feel like we have to throw something in there.
You got some
Thank
great
you.
gigs even coming up. I mean, you've done a lot already, but you're opening for some pretty cool acts. And anything you can tell me about that?
Yeah, I got you. So as of when this is being filmed, it's this Friday. I think this will be done. But on March 31st, we're opening for Judah and the Lion in Greensboro at Piedmont Hall, which is crazy because
I was gonna say, how'd you get that?
yeah,
You're brand new.
Yeah. So Piedmont Hall, for people who don't know, is like a venue that's a Live Nation venue. It's like 2,000 capacity. And Judah and the Lion is doing this thing on their upcoming tour where they're having like a local opener for each show, which is a really, really cool thing. And so they posted on their Instagram and they were like, everybody tag your favorite like local acts. And somebody who saw us opening for another show when we opened for Dury in Carborough, North Carolina, they were like, ooh, like Blankstate for Greensboro. And we were like, cool, which is really cool because we're not even from Greensboro. We're based here in Charlotte. But then
And you got a fan so engaged.
yes,
Yeah.
just somebody who saw us at a different show opening for somebody else liked us enough, which was really cool. So I was like, all right, let me look into this. And so we submitted our music. They had a little submission page where it was like, tell us about your band, like submit some of your music. And Judah and the Lion and their team listened through all the submissions and they picked some finalists for each city. And we were one of the 3 finalists for Greensboro, which was super cool. And then it went to a fan vote. So we just posted nonstop. I texted everybody. I texted people I hadn't talked to in forever.
It's the work you have to do. I mean, to get noticed, you have to be involved, and your fans have to be involved.
Yeah.
And that's true of anything that involves a voting process, even award shows.
Yes.
You know, it's your circle and how they're involved, and of course, you know, having people love you.
Yes.
Being that band that people want to see win.
Yeah.
They're rooting for you.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
And that's one thing that we noticed in this voting process, but also just in general, is we're still trying to promote ourselves through social media, TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that. But mostly where we're able to get a lot of our draw is from live music and people that we know. and that's normally our biggest pull. But we realized that out of our smaller circle, because some of the other people on this list had far more followers than us, had far more of a social media pull. We realized that even though we have a smaller social media following, the people that do follow us are all really like, we have a really strong,
You're engaged.
smaller following.
Yeah.
Right.
And so like some of the people that we were able to be to win against, which like there were some great people like on this whole list, like some of them we even knew for some of the shows. And just because of how loyal our smaller fan base is, we were able to get more votes than some people that have, you know,
Like 5 times
our following.
Yeah.
Right, because
Which-
you've transitioned your followers into fans.
Yeah.
And it sounds
And-
like with you've transitioned even those into some
Yeah.
rabid fans, which are, very cool to have.
And we're like,
For sure.
we're like super thankful for that. And we like that so far, like pretty much everyone that follows us does actually care about like us and as like people, and like everyone, I don't know, it's just like a really cool like group
and
and
environment.
I like being able to like supervise over this like whole group. Like
For the parents, yeah.
like we don't have as big enough of a following where like you know, we can still like respond to every comment, we can respond to every DM, we can do all these things. So it feels like it's a really like intimate connection that we have with all of these people. And that's one thing that I like about being a little bit smaller. Obviously, I'd love to always progress, but I do like this point of being able to be as engaged as possible with our fans. And I hope that as we move on, we can still do that.
Yeah,
I
'cause
believe
it's-
you'll find a way. And they're going to reward you by being loyal, subscribing to what you do, watching your videos, coming out and getting the tickets to the concert and buying your merch. I think you're creating something pretty great here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that I met you.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
of
much.
course.
If anyone wants to see an upcoming show in Charlotte, we've got a couple coming up in April. We got it.
April 28th, Visualite Theater in Charlotte with The Criticals, a great touring band from Nashville, and Whoa from right here in Charlotte. Then we're in Raleigh the next day at School Kids Records on the 29th. But our biggest upcoming headlining gig is at the Evening Muse again on May 18th with our great friends Moving
May
Boxes.
18th.
Moving
Yes.
Boxes is one of the best Charlotte/Raleigh bands.
Yes.
Interview them next.
Yeah,
Love them.
we suggest them. They are like a super fun group of people. They're super fun, and but this Evening Muse show is going to be super fun. And last time we did sell it out, and the our fan base has grown a little bit since the last time. So get your tickets soon.
Get your tickets now.
Get your tickets
Absolutely.
in pre-sale because we don't want to turn away anyone at the door.
And if you want to find those tickets, they're on our social medias. Our Instagram is at blankstate.official. That's pretty much where we do all of our posting. And if you go there, you can find our link tree to our website, all of our other socials.
And go watch their YouTube videos. You will thank me later.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now that you know the high story.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm Terry, and this is rBeatz. And thanks a lot for tuning in. See you next time.